When a child never becomes an adult, reflections on narcissistic and emotionally immature parenting. One of the most painful experiences reported by many adult children of narcissistic or emotionally immature parents is the feeling that they are never truly recognized as adults. They may be financially independent, have careers, marriages, children, and decades of life experience, yet when they return to their family of origin, they are treated as though they are still children whose opinions, decisions, and boundaries require parental oversight. This experience can be profoundly confusing. The adult child often wonders, what do I have to do before I'm finally treated like an equal? Over time, many come to realize that the answer may be nothing. The obstacle is not a lack of maturity on the child's part, but the parent's inability or unwillingness to transition from a parent-child relationship to an adult-adult relationship. The child who never graduates. Healthy parenting evolves over time. During childhood, parents naturally guide, protect, discipline, and make decisions on behalf of their children. As those children mature, healthy parents gradually relinquish control and replace it with respect. Advice replaces commands. Curiosity replaces assumptions. Authority becomes mutual respect. Emotionally immature, narcissistic parents may struggle with this transition. They continue to view their adult children through the lens of dependency. Decisions are questioned. Boundaries are ignored. Accomplishments are minimized. Independence is interpreted as rejection or disrespect. No matter how much the child grows, the parent's internal image remains frozen in time. The result is a relationship where the child grows older but never truly graduates into adulthood in the parent's eyes. Looking behind the behavior. Understanding why this happens does not excuse harmful behavior, but it can help explain it. Many parents who struggle emotionally were themselves raised in environments where affection, emotional attunement, or validation were scarce. Emotional neglect often passes quietly from one generation to the next. A parent may have faithfully provided food, shelter, discipline, and opportunities while never learning how to recognize or respond to emotional needs. Children raised this way often internalize beliefs such as feelings are a burden, love must be earned, vulnerability is weakness, my worth depends on meeting other people's needs, emotional closeness is uncomfortable. Without healing, these beliefs can become the foundation of the next generation's parenting. Parentification. When the child parents the parent.
Parentification?
Another dynamic frequently discussed by family therapists is parentification. Parentification occurs when a child becomes responsible for meeting a parent's emotional needs. Instead of receiving comfort, the child provides it. Instead of depending on the parent depends on the child. A child who grows up acting as an emotional caretaker often becomes highly responsible and deeply attuned to the feelings of others. As an adult, that person may unconsciously expect relationships to continue operating this way. It is possible that some parents who experienced parentification later expect their own children to provide emotional support because that is what family relationships looked like throughout their own childhood. This expectation may be largely unconscious. Ironically, they may simultaneously struggle to receive emotional support from certain children because accepting comfort would require acknowledging vulnerability or surrendering the role of authority. Family roles. Family systems theory suggests that many families unconsciously assign different roles to different children. One child becomes the caretaker, another becomes the responsible one, another becomes the peacemaker, another becomes the scapegoat. These roles often persist for decades. One sibling may become the person the parent turns to for emotional comfort, while another is expected to remain independent and emotionally self-sufficient. These patterns are often less about the individual children than about the emotional equilibrium the family has unconsciously created. Children as pets, a metaphor. One metaphor that captures the experience of many adult children is the idea that some parents relate to children more like cherished pets than like developing autonomous adults. This is not meant literally. Rather, it describes a relationship in which the parent feels most comfortable when the child is dependent, affectionate, admiring, and easily guided. Pets never become independent adults. They remain dependent throughout their lives. Likewise, some parents appear most comfortable when their children remain emotionally dependent, continue seeking approval, and fit within the parent's preferred role. As children mature into independent adults with different beliefs, careers, relationships, and priorities, the parent may experience that independence not as healthy development, but as distance or loss. Consequently, they continue trying to interact with their adult children as though they still occupy the role they held decades earlier. Preference for young children. Many emotionally immature parents appear far more comfortable with babies, toddlers, and young children than with adolescents or adults. Young children naturally admire adults. They require guidance. They seek approval. The relationship is clearly defined. As children become teenagers and adults, however, they begin forming independent identities. Healthy parents celebrate this process, even when it is bittersweet. Parents who struggle emotionally may instead experience the child's growing autonomy as rejection, disobedience, or loss of control. This can create the impression that they love the dependent child but struggle to embrace the independent adult. The grandchildren. These dynamics can sometimes seem to extend into the next generation. Adult children may notice that certain grandchildren appear to receive more affection, attention, or emotional investment than others. There are many possible reasons for these differences: age, personality, opportunity for contact, family history, unconscious favoritism, or unresolved conflicts among the adults. In some families, biological relationships may also play a role, while in others, they do not. It is usually impossible to know the precise reason without direct evidence. What matters psychologically is the experience of the family members who feel overlooked or replaced. Whether intentional or not, unequal emotional investment can leave lasting feelings of exclusion. Culture and emotional expression. Cultural background may also influence parenting style. Some Northern European traditions, including certain Scandinavian and German families, have historically emphasized emotional restraint, stoicism, personal responsibility, and self-reliance. However, culture alone cannot explain emotionally neglectful parenting. Many families from these backgrounds are deeply warm and affectionate, while emotional neglect occurs across every culture. Culture may shape how emotions are expressed, but it is only one influence among many, alongside personality, trauma, family history, and learned relationship patterns. Compassion without excusing. One of the most liberating realizations for many adult children is that understanding a parent's history does not require minimizing the pain they caused. Both statements can be true. A parent may have loved their child as best they knew how, and that love may still have left important emotional needs unmet. The question gradually changes from "what was wrong with me?" to "what happened to them that made healthy parenting so difficult?" That shift can reduce self-blame while preserving appropriate accountability. Healing. Ultimately, healing often involves grieving not only the childhood that was lost, but also the adult relationship that never fully developed. Some parents never become capable of seeing their children as independent adults. That realization can be heartbreaking, yet it can also be freeing. When an adult child no longer depends on parental recognition to validate their maturity, they begin reclaiming something that was always theirs: the right to define themselves. The goal is not necessarily to convince a parent that you have become an adult. The goal is to recognize that you already are one, regardless of whether they ever acknowledge it. This essay isn't intended to diagnose any particular person. Instead, it explores several well-established concepts from psychology, such as emotional neglect, parentification, family roles, and emotional immaturity, and considers how they might help explain the experiences many adult children report. It also distinguishes between observations, plausible interpretations, and conclusions that would require more direct evidence.
Well, that was nice. That was nice, wasn't it?